Howdy, the name is Big Ed, and I am large. But I also have really pretty eyes. Eat your heart out. Some folks call me the Ginger Bear on account of my red hair and large stature, so I decided to use it as my emblem on this tablecloth, and it serves as my banner. Today we embark on an adventure, but first I'm going to have to strip naked. Now that is much better, much more freeing. You might be asking why Big Ed here is getting butt naked, and the reason for that is because any equipment we use or wear or anything like that we are going to have to earn in a tournament. And also because the air as I rode my horse felt nice on my beard. For our very first tournament, we've arrived at the city of Danustica. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? I'm not going to lie to you, the prize was a little bit lackluster, but for our first, I suppose it'll do. We are currently naked after all. For our first tournament and the first round, we had a metal stick and a slab of wood in our hands, and we were scurrying around like a scared rat, no pun intended. But since everybody else had armor on, and I was quite literally in my underwear, I thought that I done very well. There was a gentleman on a horse that wouldn't just give up, so I had to pick up a javelin from the ground and toss it right into his old sternum. Thanks to my large stature, I was about the same height as the horse, making it quite easy to throw it at him. And with all that hellish work out of the way, it was time for round 2, baby. That's right, Big Ed's coming for you. Round 2 had begun, and I realized just how useful the slab of wood was for protecting my face against swords, arrows, axes, basically anything and everything in between. Of course, though, that did also mean that the enemies also holding the wooden shields would be quite protected from my blows, unfortunately. But now round 3 has begun. Not too much of interest really happened during round 3. My teammate on the red team, along with myself, ended up defeating the blue team quite easily. But it was because of our victory that in the final round I would have to face him as a foe, unfortunately. Such a shame, as he was a companion, a mentor, and dare I say it, even a well, I defeated him. No biggie. Sorry, old pal, only one of us could win and wear that sweet-ass cloth hat, and it's gonna be me, baby. This beautiful little beret is our very first prize from our very first victory, and I hope to wear it into many more. Now, I am still essentially completely naked, and it won't protect my noggin all that well, but I guess it's better than nothing. Without further ado, on to our second tournament. I had a pretty inflated ego from my victory in the first tournament, as well as some high hopes for victory in this second one. For the first round, my teammate and I easily cleared out the other team, winning us the round, and we would move on to the second, where they would actually give me a bow and arrow, which I wasn't all that proficient with, so I decided to get a little up close and personal. It was during this time that my teammate had fell, and I had to grab a shield off the ground as there were arrows flying and whizzing by my head at all times. Eventually, I punched the fella a few times and then cut him down with an axe. Crazy to think the poor fool had missed such a large target. Round 3 had begun, and I was still tickled plum pink, thinking that we were going to win this thing, but my teammate fell, and it was 2-on-1. I was getting tag teamed, by God, and even though I fought as hard as I could, eventually the bastards took me out. We had our first victory, and now we have our very first loss. To be honest with you, I expect many more of these. Nevertheless, on to yet another tournament. This time around, I was on a pony, by golly, and I had a great big stick with a cleaver on the end of it. Fun times. I had easily won the first round, and I would move on to the second. Unfortunately, I had a similar situation to last time, where I had a bow and my teammate fell, but this time around I actually performed quite well. Round 3 ended up being surprisingly similar. I took down a gentleman with a bow, I picked up his shield, protected myself from arrows, and then beat the dog shit out of his partner. The old repetitive rinse and repeat. The final round was pretty hyped though, as we both had some javelins, and I stuck him in the chest before sticking him in the head and ultimately winning the round. Sorry about that, old chap, but I am the main character here. For our efforts, we ended up winning a sword, and it looked muy bueno next to my cheeks. Ha ha ha! Again! Yet again, we found ourselves on yet another team, and I had an axe, and I had my pretty little cloth hat, and I was actually getting the dog shit beat out of me, and I ended up getting taken down. But my team won, so I was able to move on to the next round, thankfully. Suck on that, you filthy animals. How you like them apples, baby boy? Oh, I think he's dead, actually. Even so, I think he's going to be a lot better off than this fella, who is going to take a couple of throwing axes straight to the old dome. Seems like it might have caused a headache. Oh well, the last round was a duel between me and another gentleman with shields and axes. I would imagine he'd be quite afraid with a large, lumbering, nude man with mud and blood all over him coming at him. And apparently he was, because he fainted. My victory this time around ended up getting me some harpoons, which were pretty useless seeing how I couldn't carry them into the arena. But, okay. Ha ha ha! Again! I ended up having a bow again, and I really was not good at shooting it, I'm not gonna lie to you here. And to be honest with you, I think that's a little bit partly on my skills, but also some performance anxiety, because the other archers were just so damn good compared to me. My team carried me pretty well though, until I got to the last round, where I was going to fight someone in a one-on-one. I believe it was by this point I had finally upgraded my one-handed skill, and I was also able to stun enemies for a little bit longer whenever I punched them or kicked them, so as you can see, I had a lot of fun with that. Though I often like to think that I scared them to death with my beautiful complexion. We had won yet again, but I keep getting hats and swords and other things that I already have and don't care about. Ha ha ha! Again! Are you getting sick of that joke yet? I hope not. Anyways though, we ended up winning another tournament. This time around, the prize ended up being a caped leather harness. Finally something to hide my big manly burly chest. Good God, I look majestic. I feel like there was something I was supposed to say in this clip. Let's see. No, I've got nothing. I'm gonna level with you. I had won and lost so many tournaments by this point, I don't even remember which one this was, but I know I look damn good in my cape. Maybe it's all just in my head, some type of placebo effect, but I swear I think my cape made me so much stronger. Or perhaps our enemies were maybe just distracted by the shiny whiteness of my teeth in the beautiful sun. Either way, whichever tournament this was easy peasy lemon squeezy, and we had won yet again. And best of all, the prize for the victory of this tournament was a proper brain bucket to protect my little noodle. Wasn't quite as charming as my hat, but it'll do. Moving on to yet another tournament, this time around we actually had some heavy pauldrons as the prize, and damn it, I wanted those pauldrons. Look, I'm gonna level with you, I really liked my cape, but I didn't have any boots or pants, so I needed something to protect me as best I could. And so the pauldrons were slightly better than the cape, so I kicked this man straight into oblivion. By this point, I was running out of cities that I hadn't already visited about 4 or 5 times doing tournaments. Nevertheless, I was quite tickled as I had my pretty protective shoulder pauldrons now. You pair these bad boys up with a shirt, a pair of pants, and some shoes, and by golly, I'd be unstoppable. Another city, another day, another tournament in a very familiar looking environment. By this point in my journey, I haven't been losing too much as I've gotten quite familiar with tournaments, but this time around, I ended up losing, as you can see. Big Ed defeated once more. Well, I guess you can't win them all now, can you? This was my favorite arena by far, though. I felt really free here in my underwear, helmet, and pauldrons, a very earthy feel, like I was connected with Mother Nature as I slashed down these poor, dumb bastards. Or perhaps I'm just tripping and hallucinating from the rust of these arrows getting into my bloodstream. Either way, for the final round in this swampy little place, we both had some big old axes, and I slashed this fella right in the belly, and I ended up winning. Nothing new there. Moving on. Oh, never mind, it looks like we're actually back. All these arenas look the exact same, unfortunately, but if you can't tell, this time around I had a large bear pelt around my shoulders, and it protected me much better, actually. Unfortunately, though, I still haven't won a pair of pants or boots. Alas, I think I may be barefoot forever. I don't think I've really mentioned this before, but at times I was actually jousting some gentlemen on horses. My strategy here was to always try to kill the horse first, knock the fool down onto the ground, and then I would try to kill him as well, winning myself the tournament, as you would probably imagine, of course. It took me a hot moment to get the hang of it, but after that it was commonplace. Then, of course, I would also often win with some very large polearms, such as axes and whatever type of stick with a pointy metal piece on the end this was. Genuinely, I'm not going to lie to you, once you get the hang of maybe about 7 to 10 tournaments in Bannerlord, you could basically win every single one if you're paying attention, and this video honestly would have been over a lot longer ago if I would have just won some damn pants and boots. Do my eyes deceive me? Fashionable footwear. Finally, a pair of boots. That's it. This time around, we have to take the tournament very, very serious, like a damn heart attack. I had easily managed to make my way to the final round where an Imperial Ironclad Knight would be my final foe. Tough as nails, and his breath stunk of hickory smoked tuna. Oh, no worries, I ended up winning. And with this victory, those sweet-ass succulent boots were finally mine, baby. Look, I know I've been joking around a lot, but I was genuinely genuinely so excited to finally have some boots, as all of the tournaments had some swords and headwear and stuff like that, but never any boots. Time to strap them on and take these bad boys out to tear up the town, baby. And my golly, do they look good. Ooh. You know, I had done so many tournaments by this point, and I was so damn good at winning those tournaments that some of the kingdoms around here were actually starting to offer me mercenary contracts. You could say I was known as a one-man army, and I still didn't even have pants. But alas, noble men and women alike, all the royals, I am afraid that my home is here in the arena. You know, I do love killing all these random tournament goers, but the problem is if I were in a military or an army or what have you, I would have to listen to some king about who and who I could not kill, and I just don't jive with that. Now, by this point, after so many tournaments, I would end up having an inventory just chock full of prizes. Now, I could have kept some horses instead of selling them after I won them in tournaments to hold more, but there was really no point, so I decided to just basically sell my winnings all the time unless I could wear them. But I still continued running into the same old problem where the tournament prizes were a necromancer hood or a hat or something like that we didn't need, and nor did we want, really. We also had quite a small fortune basically only from the bets that I was making during these tournaments as well, and this atop of what we could make by selling the prizes. I thought to myself that we would have a lot of money, and technically we did earn this money through tournaments, so it would only be fair if we actually bought ourselves some armor with it. Now at first though, I did limit myself to only replacing the types of armor that we already possess, so like some shoulder pauldrons, we replaced them with these beautiful ruby blood knight pauldrons. Accompanied with Big Ed's gigantic muscles, these were sure to strike fear in the hearts of our enemies in every arena. And plus, they protected us much better than any other type of armor that we had won thus far, but I may have made a mistake by allowing myself to purchase this armor, as it was extremely protective, so much so that I rarely was taking any real damage. But if I were playing by the rules where I'm not allowed to use any of the money that I've earned from tournaments to buy any armor to upgrade myself, I would be here for 3 or 4 weeks just trying to get some damn boots again, which really sucked ass. And it is also because of this that I made the executive decision to allow myself to purchase any other types of armor that I didn't already have acquired through winning them through tournaments, of course. The new ginger bear finally covering his hairy groin with some scraps of metal. And now if you thought that I was powerful when I just had some brand new boots and shoulder pauldrons and a little helmet, then you should see me with some pants and actual armor on. I was damn near indestructible. Funny enough, I guess because subconsciously I knew that I would be completely fine like that there if I got hit 5 or 6 times by some swords with all this armor on. I was actually beginning to play pretty fast and loose. Whereas before I had to be extremely careful not to get hit too many times because my skin would be perforated by a sword or whatever the word there would be, now I knew that I could take one hell of a beating and I would be completely fine. And you know, I guess it was around about this point that I realized that this challenge really had no meaning anymore, because I could easily just make plenty of money through different prizes and bets and things like that. I had gotten so damn good at winning these tournaments, and now with this armor, it was child's play. Alas, I'm just too damn strong. Howdy, kiddos! I just wanted to say thank you ever so much for watching today's video. I do truly hope that you've enjoyed this fun little sort of whatever challenge video. I suppose it's a challenge video. It was quite easy, but I'll call it that just for the sake of things. If you or somebody you know and love happen to want to do a challenge like this in Bannerlord, or this exact challenge, I highly recommend that you do so, but do so with plenty of mods installed. I think I had quite a few here. There's a mod list in the video description, of course, as always, but I didn't have near enough. I really wish that I would have added some more mods that add more armor and swords and things like that, because the more of that you have, I mean, just basically the more fun, of course, as you probably could guess, but also the more modded items that you have, the larger the pool of items that you could possibly win from tournaments. That way you're not trying to fight forever to try and actually get some boots or some proper armor that will cover your chest and not just your shoulders and head. Or at least that's my understanding of it, but I am just a silly little goober rat. But once again, my friends, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. I love you guys ever so much, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.